Want to know why? Ask how. Howard the Humongous. When you see Vladimir Putin and Donald Trump together, keep one thing in mind: Donald Trump's psychology and Vladimir Putin's mastery of that psychology. In Trump and Putin, you are looking at what evolutionary psychologists call a dominance hierarchy, a pecking order, a status totem pole. One man is on top and one is not. Though Donald Trump is 6'3" and Vladimir Putin is 5'7", Putin is the master. Trump is the slave. Why? Here's what makes Donald Trump a slobbering sycophant. Donald Trump first got into the race for president. When Donald Trump first got into the race for president in 2015, he couldn't believe that he'd landed in the main ring of politics. He'd been making threats to run for the White House for 30 years, but those threats weren't real. He uttered them solely to make headlines. So when Donald Trump landed in the race for the highest political office in America, he felt like an outsider. In fact, he felt the way he'd felt when he was an outsider from Queens, trying to make it in the big time, the snooty real estate market of Manhattan. He felt snubbed and ridiculed. But the insiders that Trump admired in politics were not former presidents like the two George Bushes, or powerful Democratic congressional leaders, well, Republican, but in a Democratic system, like Mitch McConnell, and they weren't Democratic leaders like England's Theresa May and Germany's Angela Merkel. To understand why, it's crucial to remember something about Donald Trump. Trump is a bully. He likes beating up on people smaller than he is. He thinks it proves that he's tough. And he craves acceptance from the real insiders. Those insiders are the bully who seemed to be in charge of the geopolitical playground before Donald Trump arrived. They are dictators for life. Dictators like Xi Jinping in China and Recep Tayyip Erdogan in Turkey. But ever since Forbes magazine named Vladimir Putin the most powerful man in the world 4 years in a row and put Putin on its cover, Putin has been the king of the bullies. So Trump does what bullies do. To rise in the eyes of his fellow bullies, he beats up on folks who are smaller than he is. He beats up on Mexico, Canada, Germany, and even on the European Union, which he declared an enemy a week or so ago. He claims that shows he's strong and smart. Then Donald Trump looks up to those above him for approval, and the biggest source of approval is the king of the bullies, Vladimir Putin. So in June, Donald Trump beat up on our allies in the G7, the little guys. Then he flew to meet with one of the smaller bullies in the pack, North Korea's Kim Jong-un. And just to show his goodwill, Trump threw away a bargaining card. He wiped out our military exercises with South Korea. He gave away those exercises for free. And what did the world's greatest artist of the deal get in exchange? Nothing. Now Trump has done it again. He's gone to NATO, threatened our partners in the Western Alliance with disintegration, destroyed his role as protector of the free world, and has shown contempt for democracy's freedoms. The press, for example, is the enemy of the people. He's done it to prove his bullying power. And with those proofs, he has gone to his master, the global bully-in-chief, Vladimir Putin, looking for approval. No wonder Donald Trump doesn't believe his own intelligence chiefs. The heads of America's intelligence agencies are little guys. They may even be losers. Donald Trump has no interest in impressing them. And no wonder Trump buys every lie that comes from Putin's mouth. The only man who can give Trump acceptance, attention, and validation is Vladimir Putin. But there's one last fact. To Vladimir Putin, this simpering, whining desire for acceptance is a weakness. In fact, it's the very sort of weakness that Putin has manipulated as KGB officer all of his adult life, which makes Donald Trump Putin's puppet, whether the Trump campaign ever colluded with the Russians or not. It makes Donald Trump what used to be called a Russian dupe. A Russian dupe is someone who does Russia's bidding without knowing it. No wonder former CIA Director John Brennan tweeted early on the morning of July 16th, just after Trump's press conference with Putin in Helsinki, that Donald Trump was a traitor. And no wonder Brennan's tweet got 175,000 likes, 84,000 shares, and 29,000 comments. Donald Trump wants to give away our democracy. He wants us to join the gang of bullies. He wants to join what the Bush family called the axis of evil. This is Howard the Humongous, speaking to you from the future. It's your job and my job to make, or, want to know why, ask how. And now, for those of you who dislike me trying to find the little off button, I'm going to find it anyway.